Yeah, we're actually at the Computer History Museum here in Mountain View, California, not too far from Palo Alto, where HP's headquarters are. And what's going on right now during the annual meeting, so there were introductions made, all of the proposals were explained after the shareholders filed in here to the building. And right now they're going through a Q&A period. Some of the questions right on point, asking about HP's plans for the data center, HP's plans to return money to shareholders. There were some crazy questions, too, which we won't get into, the bonkers stuff. But, it's an important time for Hewlett-Packard here. While the voting's going on right now, the vote tallying going on, obviously, as you mentioned, Emily, the biggest issues are what board members are going to stay or what kind of support this board that got 95, 97% votes a year ago, now very much in question, particularly of all of the shareholders, the different proposals to vote against certain board members from Mark Andreessen on the way down. Ray Lane, clearly in the crosshairs of many investors, institutional investors, as well as regular folk, as well as John Hammergren and G. Kennedy Thompson. They were in charge of the finances, and they were the ones who should have been able to detect the problems with autonomy, a company that Hewlett-Packard spent precious billions of dollars on, only to get no return and have to write off virtually the entire investment within the same year. It's a horrendous situation, and the kind of corporate governance that has people like the Institutional Shareholder Services, Glass Lewis, CalPERS, SEIU, you name it, they're upset about the way HP's board has run this business, and they want changes, and they want it now.
So, Corey, other than shareholders, who goes to a meeting like this?
Well, so typically at these meetings, the biggest shareholders won't bother to show up. Now, yes, I mentioned CalPERS and I mentioned SEIU, and they are here at this meeting, and that's not a typical outcome. You have the typical local retiree crowd. That's the set that you frequently see at these shareholder meetings. But what's unusual at the Hewlett-Packard shareholder meeting is you see the people who built Silicon Valley, the original employees of Hewlett-Packard, the people who went to work for this company. I mean, I saw a guy drive up in a 1966 Mustang that he bought just before going to work at Hewlett-Packard. He worked at Hewlett-Packard for decades and drove that car to work every day. He drove that car to this shareholder meeting now that he's retired because he still has HP shares and he still has a love for the company that he helps to build. That's unique about Hewlett-Packard in the culture of Silicon Valley, and that's why the people up there, you listen to Meg Whitman make her presentation in the last half hour, and she really showed a great deal of deference to the people of Silicon Valley, the people of Hewlett-Packard that built this company that once was great and is now really struggling to find its feet.
All right, Corey, stay right there. I want to bring in to this conversation Brian White, a senior analyst at Topeka Capital Markets. He covers HP and has researched the technology sector for over a decade. He joins us now from New York. Brian, what's your take on the board? A lot of these board members have been there for several years. They've presided over a lot of struggles for HP. Is it time for change?
Yeah, I do think it's time for change. So, what we've talked about on HP are two major changes that need to occur. Number one, get rid of the PC business, spin that off or sell it. Second thing would be to actually get rid of the entire board. So I think both changes are something that will give them a clean slate and move on. There's been too much drama at HP over the years. Some board members have been there longer than others, but I think the company needs an entirely clean slate.
So you think the board needs to completely go? Every single board member needs to be replaced?
I think anyone that was there for the approval of the autonomy deal should go. And that's
Is there anyone in particular that's more responsible than the others, though? I mean, some of these shareholder advisory groups are focusing on Ray Lane. Does he bear the real responsibility here?
As chairman of the board, you certainly do. So, I mean, Ray Lane is definitely at the top of the list. Mark Andreessen has been there since 2009. He's another one that I think has really pulled down this company.
Now, you say the PC business needs to be spun off, but Meg Whitman has made it clear that she's not going to break up the company. I mean, in that case, what's your outlook?
I think it's a pretty gloomy outlook. So, the last quarter was a little better than expected. Some of the enterprise service agreements didn't roll off. Didn't move out of HP as fast as they would have expected, but it will in the second half of the year. So the quarter was a little better. But when I look at HP, I just think about, and all companies, if the company went away, how would customers react? And I think with HP, probably the only thing a lot of people would miss, whether you're a consumer or enterprise customer, is the printing business. PCs who wouldn't miss, servers, storage, plenty of competitors, networking services, software. So I think they've really, over the years, just not invested enough in innovation at HP. and there's competitors out there can do what they're doing a lot better.
Corey, what is the feeling that you're getting from shareholders? How do shareholders feel about the current board and HP's current state?
Yeah, I talked to a couple shareholders coming in. Some of them were just licking their wounds from the long-term sell-off in the stock. Now, it's worth noting the stock is up 60% this calendar year, but down 50% since Ray Lane came in as chairman of the board here. And I think the point of the autonomy thing, I think people who follow this company and follow the investing world look at the autonomy deal and really scratch their heads that everyone else could have seen this thing coming, that autonomy was this notion of a growth company, but not actually a growth company. And that's the thing that really ticks them off, that they expect the best and the brightest at Hewlett-Packard, and they're just not getting it.
Brian, can HP recover from this botched autonomy deal? I mean, it is a huge, huge number.
It's a huge number, but it's not just autonomy. It's, you know, look at what IBM did in 2005 with their PC business. I think it was pretty clear. You know, you want to focus on software services data center. They get out of it early, and HP had plenty of chance to do that. They didn't. You know, shares are down 50% since 2008. The printer market's in a secular decline. And I just look at the enterprise market, and Oracle, IBM, Dell, Cisco, EMC, all are bigger competitors than they ever were. And these are a lot of competitors you wouldn't talk about 5 years ago. Maybe an Oracle,
right, Brian.
Cisco.
Brian, but if Meg Whitman has made it clear that she's not going to spin off the PC business, Brian, you know, what are HP's prospects? If HP is not going to do what IBM did, where does that leave them?
Well, they're going to continue to try to invest in these areas, in the enterprise area and in the PC business. I just think it's going to be a very tough road. My personal view is, as we look out over the next 2 to 3 years, I wouldn't doubt if HP backtracks and tries to get rid of this PC business, possibly with the printer business. I don't think they're committed to it long term, is my view. But you certainly can't say that. As Leo did, they announced they were going to spin off the PC business, and then what happened? Sales dry up. So I think longer term, they ultimately will, and I think that's the thing they should do.
Corey, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, they would have sold the PC business if they had a buyer. It was crazy to announce it was for sale before they had a buyer, because it put the whole business. I'm sure that the salespeople from Lenovo and Dell loved going to their customers when HP announced they were going to sell this business. But, you know, to 2005, when IBM was selling their PC division, Hewlett-Packard was doubling down by buying Compaq in a deal that I stood outside of shareholder meetings just like this in 2004 with shareholders, you know, screaming to the high heavens saying, please don't buy Compaq, and HP's management charging ahead and doing just that. So it's clear that the PC business is not where they want to be, but they're stuck with it. And I also think that they've painted themselves into a corner with the enormous amount of debt, the commitment to $1 billion a year in dividend, the $2 or $3 billion coming due every year right now in debt service, when they've got, you know, generating maybe $6 billion right now in good times of free cash flow. Any hit to that free cash flow, including losing the printer business, suddenly they're going to have a lot more problems on their hands. They're really in a tough spot.